Let's review the process of manually adding journal entries to the general ledger. Journal entries are typically added for any transactions completed outside of the system and that are not associated with system-generated AP or payroll checks. This typically includes online payments, electronic drafts, or any other activity that needs to be accounted for in your books that is not generated through the system's billing, payroll, accounts payable, or accounts receivable integration. Start by navigating to the General Ledger Entries desktop and click Add Journal Entry. Enter the transaction date. This date will get posted to the associated accounting period. Next, select the base account. Choose one of the accounts that the activity will get booked to. You will choose the offsetting entry after this first one is saved. Cost Center is optional but recommended. Likewise, service is optional and recommended if you are trying to run your financials all the way down to the service level. Enter the amount of the journal entry and then a brief description of the nature of the activity. This description is later searchable in the GL entry search grid. Enter a check number if applicable. The default entry type is set to posting. You have the option to enter your budgeted transactions in order to review your budget to actual financials. Click Save, and the data just entered will appear in the grid below. In order to post the journal entry, you must enter both sides of the transaction, both the debit and the credit. Here, you can see we've entered the negative transaction amount against the cash account, and now we will need to add the offsetting entry. Once the entry is balanced, you will see that the total will equal 0 and display in green. The red indicator around the total signals that the transaction is not yet balanced. Again, the total must equal 0 in order to be able to finalize this transaction and officially post it to the general ledger. To add the offsetting entry, simply choose the other account necessary for the transaction. Also, change the sign of the amount so that you have both your positive and negative, your debit and credit transaction represented. Typically, the date, description, and cost center will remain the same. Save the entry when all fields are entered. Now that I have my debit and credit transaction, my total is 0, and the system gives me the green light to post this entry when ready. I may choose to post the entry now, or I can continue adding if I have more than one entry to add during this session. If at any time you need to make an edit to a saved entry, simply click on the line and edit directly in the row. I have now represented two totally separate transactions, and because both transactions are balanced entries, I am free to post these to the general ledger when ready. I may choose to post from the selected rows or post all at once. Once the entries have successfully posted, a posting journal will be produced. This may be exported if you need to save for your internal records or printed to share. Neither are necessary since this posting report can be recreated at any point in time through a search in the search grid. For any routine and repetitive transactions, such as monthly rent payments, you can set up reoccurring entries. Simply click the Add Recurring Entry button. This is the same form as we just reviewed, so all transactions will be entered in the same regard here. Choose your base account, enter a cost center as applicable, likewise with service and check number, but always include your amount and a description. Likewise, budgeting entries can also be set up on a reoccurring schedule. Very much recommended if you are putting your budget into the system. Once the entry is balanced and your total is green, along with cost center and service, here signifying that you're balanced in both of those areas, scroll to the bottom to set the reoccurrence schedule. Enter the start and end dates for the reoccurrence date range. And choose the frequency. You may save in order to keep the transactions, or save and post to go ahead and not only save, but book those entries to the general ledger so they start to show up on your financial reports accordingly. Should you have any questions, contact our support team by going to Options, Support, and Contact Support.